and welcome to SOLIDWORKS Skills video.
In this video I'll be showing how to create a SOLIDWORKS drawing that contains two or more of your isometric part models. I'm assuming at this point that you have viewed the video on how to create a drawing template. I will be using such a template when I'm doing this work. The two parts that I'm going to include are ISO 1 and ISO 7. I'll be creating a sheet for each one. As you're working along, you would create additional sheets for parts 3, 4, and 5. So here we go, File, New, Drawing, and I will find the template that I created. It's the one down at the bottom here. And that includes some of the title block already filled in. If you look over on the left, it's waiting for me to place one of the open models. You don't have to have them open. I do in this case. I'm going to do number 1, ISO 1. I'll double click on it, and now I bring out a box which is representative of one of the views. If you see over here, it's showing the front view, one of the standard views. That is the view I want. You can change which view it is later on. Don't feel like that you're locked in. So I'll click once to place the front view, click again to place a top view, place a right side view, and if I move up here at an angle, I can create the isometric view and right click. Don't worry that the isometric is going off the page, because the first thing I'm going to do is to drag it down back into the drawing area. So here we are with the views. Let's start to do some dimensioning. Most of my dimensioning will be on the front and the top. My datums are as follows: the bottom datum, the left datum, and the front datum. I will use those to dimension everything. Here we go. I will go into annotation, smart dimension. Let's get the overall width on the bottom. I'll be going from this surface to that corner. I'll drag down because I know I need a little bit of room above that. Put it in the center. Now I'll click again, left edge, now in the middle, and I'll put this down. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see better what I'm doing. You can see that the one is a little bit off center. I'll move it back there. That looks a little bit better. Okay, let's do the height over here. Again, I'll be careful to center it. Don't get it too close to the part. I will go from the left edge to this top middle vertex. That's 0.75, and I know that I'll have another dimension from the left edge to this upper right vertex, and I'll put that up above, and again being centered. So that pretty well dimensions the front view. It's a little close to the top view. I can drag things around as I need to. I'm going to escape out of Smart Dimension, move this down just a little bit so I'm not crowding the top view quite so much, and I can move the top view up as well. Just give myself a little bit more room. Okay, notice that all the views are aligned with each other. This is how it should be, otherwise it would be confusing. Let's do some dimensioning from the bottom edge, which is the front of the part. So I'll go back into Smart Dimension mode, click on the front edge, and I'll go to here. That's my first dimension. Now notice you can put the dimension either outside of the extension lines or within them. Both are okay in this instance. Let's create another dimension from here to the next step up. And because I'm getting a little crowded out here, there's no reason I couldn't put this final dimension over here on the left. Again, being careful to center everything. So the top and the front views are fully dimensioned. Matter of fact, I think I've dimensioned everything that could be dimensioned without over dimensioning or double dimensioning. So I will accept this. Let's change how the isometric view looks. I do not like to see dashed lines. In fact, I really would prefer that everybody use the shaded with lines option. It gives the best representation. It's there for interpretation. That's the purpose. So let's give every advantage we can. Okay, so let's add a note block. Let's click and drag a rectangular region. Makes life a little bit easier. The first word of the notes block is notes, N-O-T-E-S. Then we'll space down a little bit. 1 is to remove all burrs, support materials, and sharp edges. This is a 3D printed part. And the 2 would be a generic comment, which is tolerances as per title block unless otherwise specified. A generic comment helps to remove any opportunity for someone to make incorrect assumptions about my intention for this design. So we're going to accept that. I can move the notes around if I want to. If I wanted to go back in, I could double click on it and change the text once again, but it's okay, I'll leave it alone. So here we are. Our first sheet looks pretty good. About the only thing missing here is the title down below. I do want to put a title in here. I'll use the same title on all sheets. The drawing number I will coordinate with the particular part. So I'll right click, go into Edit Sheet Format, and I'll double click in the area where the title is. It allows me to type in text. So this is ISO Group 1, because I'm going to be breaking them into 2 groups of 5. This is Group 1. And I'll be specifying which ISO it is in the drawing numbers themselves. So I will accept that. I will right click, go back to Edit Sheet, and as far as I can tell, this drawing is ready to be submitted. However, I know for me that I want to add additional sheets. This is just the first of several sheets. So I will go down to the lower left corner and add a sheet. Now this sheet comes in blank. The drawing number is the drawing number of the first part. I'm going to have to modify that. And notice the title that I typed in is no longer here. It's not part of the drawing template. But it's easy enough. I'm going to go up to View Layout, see the tab up in the upper left corner, add a model view, and this time I'm going to add ISO 7. ISO 7 comes in. It's the same procedure again. Front, top, right view. I am going to eliminate the hidden lines. I don't want to see them. It's too tempting to try to dimension from them, but I definitely want to get a shaded isometric view to help make it clear what's going on here. So I right click to finish. Let's move the ISO view a little bit. In fact, the ISO view I'm going to shade immediately so I can really see what's going on. The front view, I'm going to click on the front view and I'm going to go down to eliminate hidden lines, and that eliminated from all 3 views. I will leave it to your exercise to add the dimensions here. I don't need to do that in this demo. I will, however, show you how to change the title block to match what's going on above. So I'll right click and I'll do Edit Sheet Format once again. Let's bring back that it's ISO Group 1, the same as on the first sheet. I will also show you how to copy the notes from sheet to sheet. Now then I'm going to accept that, and now I'm going to also edit the ISO number. It defaulted to a number, the first part's number, so I'm going to change it to ISO 7. ISO 7, which matches the part that's on this particular sheet. I will accept that, right click again, go back to editing the sheet, and now the title block is coordinated with what this view depicts. Let's go back to sheet 1. I can click over here on sheet 1. I will click on the notes. I will go Edit, Copy, go to sheet 2. Let's paste it here. I'm not changing the note. It's the same note that I had on the first one. You should have a notes block for each and every part on each and every sheet of a collection like this. Now that the sheet is ready, let's go ahead and change the name of the sheets to match the name of the parts that are in them. If I right click on that, I can rename. Let's make the first one ISO 1. Do the same thing to sheet 2, and I would do that with all subsequent sheets so that later on it's easy for me to click from one to another and get more directly. I'll rename this one to ISO 7. Okay, and I'll accept that, click away. So now you can see ISO 1 is there, ISO 7 is there. At this point I would proceed to finishing the dimensioning on this particular part. There may be some parts where you have more than 3 views and you'll have to add them and space things around a little bit. Once you have the collection complete, then you would go ahead and create a PDF, a multi-sheet PDF file, and that is described in a separate video. 2 more points worth mentioning. When you have a part drawing like this, you'll frequently want to add the material specification for the part to make it clear what the vendor is supposed to make the product out of. Now, I'd mentioned earlier that this is to be a 3D printed part. Let's continue that thought a little bit and add a couple of notations that will make it easier for the provider to do exactly what we're looking for. Let's click back to ISO 1. First thing I'm going to do is to add an annotation to the bottom of the view. I'll put it over here where there's more space. Notice that it did create a leader line automatically because I clicked on the bottom edge. And what I'm going to indicate is that I want to build from this surface. That's a notation for the 3D printer that is the bottom of the part. So I'll accept that. The next thing I want to do to make this really complete, I'll right click, edit the sheet format, and now down in the area where it says material, I'm going to specify that I want this to be made, in this case, out of PLA. So I'll add a note. I'll click into the material area and I'll start typing PLA. I might even indicate a color. That's not required. Sometimes you get what color you get, but if this were a commercial environment, you would certainly say what color you want. I'll place the word green in here just for clarity. I'll accept this change. I'll go back to Edit Sheet, and we have more notes that would indicate for the provider exactly how it is to be produced. A good reminder is for you to save your work frequently. Problems do occur occasionally with this and any other program, and you want to make sure that you have the most recent version possible in case something does happen. I would recommend certainly as you create each new sheet that would be a good moment to save your work.
Thank you for watching. This video is part of a series created by Neil Rosenberg and Joseph Caswell. All rights reserved.